Hello and welcome back to CEO.CA's Inside the Boardroom. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Graham Harris, Chairman of Surge Battery Metals, one of the most widely followed stories on CEO.CA, to discuss an exciting lithium discovery, some results put out just recently. Graham, how are you doing today?
Yeah, great. Thanks for having us.
So let's get right into it. You recently put out some results, incredibly high grades at the most southeasterly hole to date at the project. Can you walk us through some of the work that went into those results and what the significance of this update is?
Yeah, this was basically an extension of last year's drilling campaign. We knew from the geophysics that, it's highly likely that the, high-grade lithium clay horizon extended to the south. We had geophysics to prove that. We're operating under a notice of intent in Nevada, so it limits us in terms of disturbance area. So last year we focused on the northern section, basically drilled off the side of the road, and I want to highlight that that's been one of the amazing things to me, that we've developed this world-class asset by literally not hitting the best geophysical targets, but by limiting our remediation programs to keep it under the 5 acres and just literally drilling off the side of a road. And it's nothing short of amazing that we're getting these results. And people can infer now that we've extended the strike length over a further kilometer south. And that's only going to bode well for the updated resource that's coming in September.
Great. So let's talk about some of those next steps. Updated resource coming imminently, and also PEA at the end of the year. What additional work needs to go into these milestones, and what can people expect out of them?
Well, behind the scenes, we are working on a PEA, and there's a lot of engineering work that's going into that. We hired M3 to do the engineering. It was important for us to get the resource drilled on time, because we need to incorporate the updated resource into the PEA. And for us to meet our timelines and to get the PEA out by December, it was really important that we got the drilling program done, and now we're in the process of recalculating the resource, and it's the recalculated resource that'll form the basis of the PEA. So we've been working on a tight timeline. Luckily for us, we had a great drilling crew this year. We drilled in record time. We didn't run into any issues. We are on track to get that updated resource out, and that's going to allow us the time to incorporate that into the PEA for December.
Great. And I want to wind back the clock a little. Obviously you're seeing incredibly high grades in the latest results. Can you put those in the context of some of the previous work and maybe how you ended up at the discovery you have today?
Well, how we ended up there goes way back to Alan Morris identifying this area, which wasn't known to host lithium from some old mapping and soil sampling, and staking this back in 2018. And really, it's been nothing short of incredible ever since. Every time we drill or do any prospecting, we're amazed at the results. It wasn't a known area for hosting lithium. Most of the known areas in Nevada tend to focus on the caldera to the west, which is Thacker Pass, or down south where Century and Lithium Americas and Ioneer are, American Lithium. So we're sitting here in Northeast Nevada with really a grassroots discovery. And when we drill this thing, we're continually amazed by the grade. The grade is significantly higher than all other projects in Nevada, all the claystone projects. So we're thrilled. I mean, we keep getting pleasant surprises, and nothing short of the most pleasant surprise, which was the highest grade lithium in the last hole. So I'm hopeful for the future, because again, we've only drilled 20 holes. The next stage of development is the plan of operation, where we'll be able to allow for 250 acres of disturbance. And I expect more pleasant surprises, because we're going to be able to drill some of the better geophysical anomalies. But, whether it's 6,000, 8,000 ppm, anything over 4, anything over 3 really is nothing short of spectacular. And we have a lot of that. And one of the key things that people should really focus on is not only do we have high grade lithium, but it's at surface. It's contained in our highest grades are contained in the first 100 feet. And that's going to be extremely, extremely beneficial for us in terms of mining, and in terms of PEA being hopefully lowering the OPEX, because we're starting at surface. We're just able to dig this stuff free scooping from the ground in the first 100 feet. I think it's going to be very positive.
Absolutely. Yeah, looking forward to seeing those updates myself. I would love to get a bit of a sense of the team that you have at Surge Battery Metals. Maybe could you give us some of your experience and then some of the other key people on the management team and what experience they bring that's really helping to drive this project forward on such tight timelines?
Well, I'd like to take all the credit, but that's impossible. And then one thing I do have is a great team. And I knew that when I developed Millennial Lithium. One of the key things when we sold that was I recognized that we had a great team in place, a lithium exploration and development team. And I was able to convince most of them to come over and join me here at Surge Battery Metals. So behind me, the president and CEO, Greg Reimer, has done a great job of, early stages identifying that this was an asset of significance and did everything correctly to get us to the stage where I could come in last year and bring my team in along with me. And as most people know, lithium itself is more than just mining. It's chemical engineering as well. And we have some of the best people on the planet. I've got Ian Scarr, great geologist. I've got Vijay Mehta, who's the guru of lithium processing. He's working on the flow sheet. We have some great subcontractors with us, M3 Engineering. We have great people in the field, Daniel Savez, Alan Morris. We have a great team.
Yeah, always reassuring to hear about the experience of the team as when you reach these stages of a project, going to make sure the right people are driving it forward. I want to talk a bit about the lithium market. It's been a turbulent couple of years with some dramatic highs and dramatic falls back down to earth, but want to get your sense of where you see the market in years to come and what your perspective is right now on the supply and demand fundamentals.
Had I not sort of been through this all before, I'd be more worried than I am now. But, when I founded Millennial in 2016, we came out with a great resource, and in 2018, nobody cared. It was the same sort of dynamic that we face now in the lithium market. We know from all the forecasts that the lithium market is going to grow exponentially. It's about 1,204,000 tons of demand right now, expecting to be 4 million by 2035. There's a lot of projects that need to come on stream to meet that demand. These projects take time. It's always remarkable to me that, the market is such short-sighted. Like I said, at Millennial, nobody cared in 2018. And then come 2020, 22, we had multiple bidding wars for our company, and we sold it for $500 million. 3 years after, nobody cared. And I'm just, very focused on building this asset and de-risking it, knowing that the future demand for lithium is intact. People always have these stories about EV, growth slowing. Well, it's actually not slowing. It's growing at 24% a year. It's just not growing at the 50% that people were anticipating, and therefore they say the demand is slowing. But, long-term 24% compound growth in the EV penetration is very significant. And looking out, it's not only EVs, it's power tools, it's airplanes, we have boats, everything seems to be going green energy. And that demand, that 4 million tons of demand by 2035 is only going to be 7 million in 2040. And if you look at the projects, like even ours, it's going to come on stream at 40 to 50,000. You need a lot of these projects to come on stream to meet that demand. And the way the market is right now, with funding not being readily available, we see a lot of the producers, cutting back on production. We see a lot of projects not going into production. And I always said the best cure for low prices is low prices. And come 2028, 2030, my guess is we're going to see that same type of crunch in the supply chain again that we saw on the last cycle. And it's not great because, such wild fluctuations are tough to deal with for consumers and producers. We need a more transparent lithium market. I've been saying that for a long time, and that's where we need to get to. So I do think it's coming. It's an early stage industry. Look back to even computers back in the 90s, all the struggles that people had with no internet, and now look at them today. It's a big leap in terms of technological growth, and I think we're going to see that in this space as well.
Thank you very much for that overview, Graham. There was something I want to circle back on there. You mentioned that the fragmented nature of the lithium market, and there may be geographic disparities between supply chains that go through Africa and China versus North America. What's the significance for Surge, and why is being a North American deposit so important?
Well, I'm glad you bring that up. It's a great question, and it's something that is always, I think, is going to cause some problems going forward for the domestic consumers of battery materials. Because under the Inflation Reduction Act, for people to get that $7,500 rebate, your cars must be produced in the U.S. with batteries and the raw materials for those batteries sourced through a domestic partner. And we all know that China is producing 85% of the batteries. Well, they're not going to qualify in North American vehicles to get those credits. So we're busy, the government's busy supporting and helping develop a battery industry supply chain in North America. And I think it's going to be important that they can source domestic lithium. We have no idea how much the Chinese are producing or accessing out of African nations to supply their battery manufacturing capabilities. But I do know that they don't qualify for the tax credits. And so that's important because that's going to mean the OEMs of the world, the car companies, the battery companies are going to need to source domestic lithium supply. Right now, out of the 400,000 tons that's needed in America every year, America produces 5,000 tons at a very small mine called Silver Peak. So with that growing to around 800,000 tons in domestic supply or domestic demand, that leaves a big gap in the domestic market, and we're going to hopefully be one of the solutions going forward.
Graham, just to wrap up, I want to look a little further ahead here. So, we've talked about the work that's planned for year end and some big milestones coming up with the updated resource and PEA. But talking, a year's time, 2 years' time, 5 years' time, what's the vision for Surge Battery Metals?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, our vision is to, advance this project as far as we can. And if we, get to the point to make a production decision, that's great. But in the meantime, we're going to get the PEA out. We're working hard on getting what we call the next phase of development in Nevada, which is called the plan of operation. And that will allow us for greater disturbance area next year, more drilling. Along with the plan of operation, we'll be doing the bankable feasibility. And that's about 18 months out from when we get the plan of operation. And that's going to be the next big milestone for this company is, de-risk it to the point of producing a bankable feasibility study. And then from there, we'll look at our options going forward, whether, we're a public company, so we can't control everything going forward. But let's get to the feasibility stage and weigh our options then.
Well, Graham, thank you so much for joining us today and looking forward to hearing more updates from Surge throughout the year.
Okay, lots of great things happening, so stay tuned. Appreciate it.